As Russia's relentless missile barrage continues without pause, Volodymyr Zelensky is now battling another serious crisis unfolding inside Ukraine. A fresh political storm is gripping Ukraine, with Volodymyr Zelensky finding himself fighting fire on multiple fronts at once. Thousands of Ukrainians have poured onto the streets, demanding answers as nationwide protests gather momentum against the government. Has Vladimir Putin scored a major political victory after Volodymyr Zelensky's dramatic government reshuffle appeared to backfire? Amid the escalating war with Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is now battling a major political crisis unfolding within his own country. For more than 10 days, protests against Zelensky have spread across Ukraine, from Kyiv to Kharkiv, showing no signs of slowing down. Protesters have repeatedly taken to the streets in anger over Volodymyr Zelensky's dramatic government reshuffle that stunned the country. Public calls have been steadily growing louder, demanding that dismissed Defence Minister Mykhailo Fedorov be immediately reinstated to his former position. Many Ukrainians have credited the former defense minister for spearheading successful strikes that targeted Russia's critical energy infrastructure.
I am here because I believe it is extremely important for us, as a nation, to come out and show our leaders where we stand and what we believe. Our primary demand is the reinstatement of Mykhailo Fedorov as Ukraine's Minister of Defense. We have seen how effective his work has been, especially over the past few months. In particular, we have seen the strikes on Russian oil refineries and the energy crisis now affecting Russia. We believe these achievements are the result of Mykhailo Fedorov's work. He introduced innovations and carried out important reforms within the Ministry of Defense. We believe this is exactly what Ukraine needs right now. First of all, it is important to understand that Fedorov has a clear vision and a concrete plan. He has proven himself to be not only an excellent manager, but also someone capable of strategic planning and strengthening the country's defense. Even before joining the Ministry of Defense, he launched major digital initiatives. That is why I believe the Ministry of Defense is the right place for him today.
In Kyiv, demonstrators announced an open-ended protest campaign until Volodymyr Zelensky agrees to reappoint Mykhailo Fedorov as defense minister. Residents in Kharkiv also joined the growing movement, staging rallies demanding the immediate return of Mykhailo Fedorov to the defense ministry.
We don't need Fedorov just as a figurehead. We need Fedorov as a young reformer. And unfortunately, the posts offered by the president do not carry sufficient influence or provide the necessary tools to press on with reform.
It wasn't people's hope that was stolen. It was the result. It is the most effective minister we have ever had, who is not afraid to talk to people, who really offered effective reforms.
Zelensky's dramatic cabinet reshuffle on July 15th reportedly followed growing divisions and an intense rift within Ukraine's military leadership. The Ukrainian president allegedly removed Army Chief Oleksandr Syrsky after reported pressure and demands from Defense Minister Mykhailo Fedorov. Volodymyr Zelensky has reportedly brushed aside the protests, while refusing to publicly explain the reasons behind his controversial government reshuffle. Facing mounting political pressure, Zelensky later offered the dismissed defense minister another senior government position instead of restoring him to his previous role.
Today, there was another series of meetings with the commanders of the Army Corps of the Marine Corps and the commander of the Operational Group East, Viktor Nikoliuk. In fact, we spoke with almost all levels of the senior commanders of the Army and the defense and security forces of Ukraine in general. And we see a common position: Apostle, Bieletsky, Horbatiuk, Obolensky, Brody, and others. I spoke with many. All priorities and the path of modernizing the Army management have been analyzed. For the first time, I have determined that Mykhailo Drapetyi will become the new commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine. Together with Mykhailo, Yevhen, Kmara, and Pavlo Politsia, we determined how the configuration of the general staff of the armed forces of Ukraine should be updated. The fact is that Oleksandr Syrsky ensured Ukraine's results in the defense of Kyiv. In the Kharkiv offensive operation, in the Kursk operation, a significant path has been traveled. The defense of Ukraine continues, and a decent attitude towards every warrior is needed. I am grateful to Oleksandr Syrsky and to each of our warriors for Ukraine's strong frontline positions. I am grateful to Mykhailo Fedorov, to him for exactly this perspective. Today, we spoke with Alexander Sersky and Andriy Nadov about further formats of service and the proper handover of affairs. Second, we defined with Mykhailo Fedorov which tasks must be implemented in the near future and in the medium term. Operations of the defense forces of Ukraine are ongoing and must continue steadily. The plan for long-range capabilities, sanctions of Ukraine. Our strike program will be executed with absolute precision. Third, to hand over all military affairs in the most coordinated and institutional manner possible. To continue the planned steps in combat operations. Fourth, Mykhailo Fedorov, Yevgeny Kamara, and other commanders, whom we will determine together, must prepare and submit for approval an updated strategy for our defense. Steps to continue the reform, the body of the new system for fulfilling those requests from combat commanders for the supply of weapons, supply of drones, and equipment that have been voiced these days both at the Stavka and in our direct communication with the commanders. Closing the sky as much as possible from Russian strikes and providing a realistic vision of the mobilization process is a priority. Fifth, I also had a meeting today with Mykhailo Fedorov. I offered Mykhailo a worthy position in the government, which would allow uniting the technological component of our state and ensuring its development. The security competence of Yevgeny Kamara, combat achievements, technological results, and alpha strikes speak for themselves. And within the system of government structures, this is necessary. We all have one desire: victory over the enemy. Achieving such conditions on the front and in pressure on Russia that would allow forcing Russia to peace, to formalize all decisions tomorrow. Ukraine must emerge stronger from this situation, and it will be more difficult for Russia. I thank all our warriors. I thank every effective unit. I thank everyone who cares about our state, who cares about our national interests as if they were their own.
Russia fired ballistic missiles at Kyiv overnight, striking a residential high-rise in the capital's latest attack. Explosions rocked Kyiv as massive fires lit up the skyline during the overnight missile barrage on July 25th. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said missile debris slammed into an 18-story apartment building in Shevchenkivsky district. The impact triggered a major fire between the 7th and 8th floors as emergency crews rushed to evacuate residents. Another blaze also erupted at a non-residential facility in Kyiv's Solomiansky district following the missile attack. Ukraine's Air Force had issued an urgent ballistic missile warning just minutes before explosions were heard across Kyiv. President Zelensky warned Vladimir Putin was preparing a broader mobilization as Russia's battlefield losses continued to mount. Kyiv's intelligence said Russia recruited about 221,000 troops in 2026, but suffered roughly 225,500 casualties during the same period. Ukrainian officials have repeatedly warned Moscow could announce a fresh nationwide mobilization campaign later this summer. Ukraine's military intelligence earlier claimed Russia missed its 2026 recruitment target by around 30,000 personnel. Zelensky said Putin was concealing his intentions while preparing to send even more Russian troops into the war.
We also see Russia's cooperation with North Korea. Russia wants to bring in another 30,000 North Korean troops. Preparations have been underway in Russia's Voronezh region since June to receive them. In addition, North Korea is preparing to supply Russia with new launches of ballistic missiles. This is a threat not only to Ukraine. Russia is helping North Korea learn how to wage war, improve its weapons, and gain real combat experience in using them. All of this poses a threat to every country in Asia that lies within range of North Korean missiles. I will also instruct our intelligence agencies to share with our partners the information we have regarding Russia's new assistance to the Iranian regime. Since the beginning of July, we have observed Russia conducting intensive satellite surveillance of the Gulf states and the U.S. military facilities located there. These satellite images are subsequently passed on to Iran. At the same time, there is a clear correlation between Russia's satellite imagery and Iranian strikes, both before attacks, to support their planning, and after attacks, to assess the damage inflicted. On July the 19th and 20th alone, 4 air bases fell within the focus of Russian satellites, 2 in Bahrain, 1 in Jordan, and 1 in Kuwait. It is obvious why.